Beneath the charm of New York's historic streets lies a darkness few dare to explore. These aren't just old buildings, they're haunted houses where the past never rests, and the spirits still whisper through the walls. From ghostly footsteps to chilling shadows, what happens inside these homes will shake your soul. Are you brave enough to spend 24 hours in places where others never made it through the night? Let's step inside, if you dare. If you love real ghost stories and chilling adventures, hit that subscribe button and join us as we uncover the secrets they never wanted you to hear. Don't just watch, haunt with us. 1. Amityville Horror House. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York looks peaceful from the outside. It has white siding, large windows, and a quiet yard. But behind those walls is one of the most famous and terrifying stories in America. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his parents and 4 siblings in that very house while they slept. A year later, the Lutz family moved in, hoping for a fresh start. What they experienced over the next 28 days was so disturbing that they left everything behind and never returned. Spending 24 hours in that house, based on what they described, would be a terrifying journey. It would begin calmly, during the afternoon. The house might feel quiet at first. Sunlight would shine through the windows, and nothing would seem unusual. But slowly, a strange feeling would creep in. George Lutz often said he felt watched, even when no one was around. He said cold spots would appear in warm rooms. The dog barked at corners where nothing was there. One day, they saw a thick green slime dripping down the walls in the kitchen. They cleaned it, but it kept coming back. The toilets filled with black water, and the smell of perfume or rotting would come and go without reason. As the evening arrived, the fear would grow. The Lutz children claimed they saw red eyes outside their bedroom windows. Their young daughter Missy talked to an imaginary friend named Jody, who she said was a pig with glowing red eyes. One night, the parents claimed to see those same eyes staring in through the glass. Doors began to open and slam shut on their own. Windows would suddenly jam or shatter without cause. George found bite marks on his skin with no idea where they came from. The air inside the house felt heavy and cold, even when the heat was running. By midnight, the house would come alive with terrifying energy. The Lutzes said they heard loud footsteps and strange voices, even when everyone was asleep. George claimed to hear a full marching band playing downstairs, but when he went to look, the room was empty. Kathy Lutz said she was lifted into the air and thrown off her bed. Crucifixes turned upside down, and a thick, sour smell filled the rooms. George woke up at exactly 3:15 a.m. every night, the same time the murders had happened the year before. The family called a priest to bless the house. As he walked through, he heard a deep voice say, "Get out." After that, he became sick and developed painful blisters on his hands. Even he refused to return. During the early morning hours, the family tried to stay together in one room, too afraid to move around the house alone. Objects moved by themselves, and strange shadows slid across the walls. By the time the sun returned, the terror faded, but the house still felt dark. The Lutzes had reached their limit. After only 28 days, they fled in the middle of the night, leaving everything behind. They never spoke about what really happened in full detail, but they swore it was all true. Even now, the house still stands. People have lived there since, and some say nothing strange has happened. Others believe the evil still sleeps inside. Would you dare to stay there for even one night? 2. Morris Jumel Mansion. The Morris Jumel Mansion is the oldest house in Manhattan, New York City. It was built in 1765 and has been around for more than 250 years. Many important people stayed there, including George Washington during the American Revolution. But the house is also known for something else: ghosts. People say it's one of the most haunted places in New York. Spending 24 hours in this house would be a strange and creepy experience. The day might begin with sunshine and the sound of birds in the nearby park. At first, the house feels calm. You walk through old wooden rooms filled with furniture from long ago. Everything looks like a museum. There are old paintings, creaky stairs, and rooms where history happened. But even in the quiet, something doesn't feel right. As you explore, you might feel cold air in one corner of a warm room. You might hear soft footsteps when no one is there. Some visitors say they feel someone behind them, watching, even when they are alone. Others say they hear whispers, even though the house is empty. By evening, the house feels different. Shadows grow longer, and the quiet becomes deeper. If you stay alone in one of the upstairs rooms, you may hear knocking on the walls or doors that close by themselves. Some people have seen a woman wearing old clothes walking through the halls. Many believe this is the ghost of Eliza Jumel, the woman who once lived there. Eliza was married to a rich man named Stephen Jumel. After he died, she married Aaron Burr, a former vice president of the United States. But their marriage was not happy, and they separated. Eliza lived in the house until she died. Some believe her spirit never left. As the night goes on, the strange sounds grow louder. Around midnight, you might hear a voice calling your name. Some say they hear music from another room, even when no one is there. Others have seen chairs move on their own or lights turn off and on. The creaking floorboards sound like someone is walking slowly toward you. By 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, the house feels very cold. You wrap yourself in a blanket and sit in one of the old chairs, too scared to sleep. The silence is heavy, and every little sound makes you jump. At one point, you think you see a woman standing at the top of the stairs, but when you look again, she's gone. Some ghost hunters have visited the Morris Jumel mansion with special cameras and voice recorders. They say they captured strange images and voices. One investigator said he heard a woman say, "Leave now," when no one else was around. A museum worker once said she was alone in a room and felt someone touch her shoulder. But when she turned, there was no one there. When morning finally comes, you feel tired but relieved. The sun rises and light fills the rooms. The house feels less scary, but the strange feeling remains. Even in daylight, it's hard to forget the whispers, the footsteps, and the cold air. After spending 24 hours inside the Morris Jumel mansion, you walk out slowly, looking back at the house. It's beautiful, full of history and mystery. You may not know exactly what happened during the night, but one thing is clear: something still lives there, and it does not like to be forgotten. 3. The House of Death. The brownstone at 14 West 10th Street in Greenwich Village, New York City, looks beautiful and peaceful from the outside. But people call it the House of Death. This house has a dark past and is known as one of the most haunted homes in the city. Some say over 20 ghosts live there, and many strange things have happened inside. You arrive at the house around 3:00 p.m. on a quiet afternoon. The street is lined with trees and feels calm. But the moment you step inside, something feels off. The air is heavy. The rooms are silent, but it's not the normal kind of silence. It feels like something is waiting. You walk slowly through the house, noticing the beautiful details: old wooden floors, tall windows, and a big staircase. But even with the beauty, there's a strong feeling that you're not alone. You explore the rooms and take photos, but some come out blurry for no reason. When you go up the stairs, you hear a soft creak behind you, like someone is following. You turn around quickly, but no one is there. You try to laugh it off, but the chill in your spine won't go away. By 6 p.m., the light outside starts to fade. You sit in the living room with your flashlight nearby. This is the same place where the writer Mark Twain once lived. He didn't believe in ghosts, but even he said he saw strange things in the house. Like a floating piece of wood. People say his spirit still appears from time to time, dressed in a white suit, walking down the stairs or sitting quietly in a chair. Around 9 p.m., the house gets colder. You hear soft footsteps above you, but you know the floor above is empty. Doors begin to creak, and you feel cold air brush past your face. At one point, a picture on the wall tilts by itself. You check for wind or movement, but the windows are closed, and the air is still. By midnight, the house feels alive. Strange shadows move across the walls. You hear a soft whisper from one of the bedrooms. When you walk in, it's empty. But the bed looks like someone just sat on it, the blanket is pushed down. You remember a terrible story from the 1980s, a man living in this house killed his 6-year-old daughter. Many people believe her ghost is still trapped here. Some visitors say they've seen a small child crying in the hallway. At 3:00 a.m., you hear loud banging on the walls and the sound of something dragging across the floor upstairs. You freeze. You want to leave, but you promised yourself you'd last 24 hours. The house feels angry now. Lights flicker, even though you didn't touch any switches. The air smells like smoke, then suddenly like roses, and then like something rotten. You sit in a corner with your flashlight, heart beating fast. The hours pass slowly. Every little sound makes you jump. At one point, you feel a cold hand touch your shoulder. You spin around, no one is there. By 7 a.m., the sun rises. The light comes through the windows, and the strange sounds stop. The house feels still again, like nothing ever happened. You pack your things and head toward the door. Before you leave, you look back one last time. The hallway is empty, but for a second, you think you see a shadow at the top of the stairs. You walk out into the street, back into the real world. You survived 24 hours in the house of death, but you will never forget what you felt inside. Some houses keep their secrets. This one whispers them in the dark. 4. Hinsdale House. The Hinsdale House, also called the Dandy House, is a small, quiet farmhouse deep in the woods of Hinsdale, New York. It looks old and peaceful from the outside, but many people believe it is one of the most haunted houses in America. Strange things have happened there for years: ghost sightings, exorcisms, and strange noises. People who visit often feel scared, sick, or like they are being watched. You arrive at the house around 3 p.m. on a cloudy day. The dirt road is quiet. The trees around the house seem too still, and there are no birds singing. The house creaks as you open the old wooden door. Inside, the air feels cold, even though it's warm outside. The rooms are small, with old furniture and faded wallpaper. You put your bag down and start to explore. You walk through the kitchen, the living room, and the upstairs bedrooms. Nothing seems very strange at first. But in one of the rooms, you feel dizzy. The room is cold, and you get a sharp headache. You sit down and feel better after a while. This is something many visitors report: a heavy, sick feeling in certain rooms, for no reason. By 6 p.m., the sun begins to set. You light a candle and turn on your flashlight. The house has no working electricity. As the light fades, the silence grows. You begin to hear tapping on the walls, like fingers knocking softly. You check outside, but no one is there. You come back in and see a shadow move across the hallway. You follow it, but the hall is empty. Around 9 p.m., you sit in the living room and try to stay calm. Many ghost hunters have said they heard voices here. One person heard a woman singing softly upstairs. Another heard a man shouting in the basement. Suddenly, you hear a loud bang from the kitchen. You run in and see a chair tipped over. You try to tell yourself it was just the wind, but all the windows are closed. By midnight, the house feels alive. You hear footsteps upstairs, even though no one else is there. The air is freezing. You go up the stairs slowly, holding your flashlight. In one of the rooms, the door slams shut behind you. You try to open it, but it won't move. Then, as quickly as it closed, it opens again. Your heart is racing. At 3 a.m., you try to rest, but the house won't let you. You hear whispers in your ear, but no one is near you. You feel something touch your hair. A shadow passes in front of the candle, but there's no one there. You sit in a corner, scared to move. Some people say this house has dark energy, and it feeds on fear. Others believe spirits from the land or the forest are trapped inside. As sunrise comes at 6 a.m., the house grows quiet again. The light shines through the dirty windows, and the cold air disappears. You walk outside, feeling weak and tired. You made it through the night. At 3 p.m., after 24 hours, you leave the house and walk back to your car. The road feels warmer, and the birds are singing again. You look back at the house one last time. It stands quietly among the trees, as if nothing happened. But deep inside, you know what you saw and felt was real. The Hinsdale house doesn't need to speak, it shows you its secrets in the dark. 5. Kreischer Mansion. The Kreischer Mansion is a large, old house on Staten Island, New York. It was built in the 1800s by a rich brick factory owner named Balthasar Kreischer. There were once 2 houses, one for each of his sons, but only one remains today. From the outside, it looks like a beautiful Victorian home, with tall windows and a grand porch. But inside, it has a very dark and creepy history. Some people believe the house is cursed. Others say it's haunted by more than one ghost. You arrive at the mansion around 3 p.m. The sun is shining, and the big house looks quiet. You walk up the steps and open the door. The inside is dusty and dark. The wooden floors creak as you step inside. There are old mirrors, long curtains, and cracked walls. The air smells musty, like no one has lived there for a long time. Still, nothing feels too scary, yet. You walk through the rooms and go upstairs. In one of the bedrooms, you hear a soft tapping sound, but you can't find where it's coming from. You ignore it and continue exploring. There are stories that one of the Kreischer sons killed himself in the house after falling into a deep sadness. People say his spirit still lingers there, full of sorrow. By 6 p.m., it starts to get dark. The lights don't work, so you use your flashlight. You sit in the living room, where the fire used to burn in the old fireplace. Suddenly, you hear a whisper from the hallway. You go to check, but no one is there. Then a door creaks open slowly behind you. You feel a cold wind pass by your neck, but all the windows are shut. At 9 p.m., you try to relax and eat something. But then you hear heavy footsteps upstairs. You freeze. The sound moves slowly, like someone pacing back and forth. You know you are alone. When you finally gather courage to check, the footsteps stop. The hallway is empty, but the air feels cold and thick. By midnight, the house becomes very uncomfortable. People say that in the early 2000s, a man connected to the mob murdered someone in the basement of this very house. That dark energy still lives here. You go downstairs to see the basement. The smell changes, it becomes sharp and strange, like burnt metal. As you step on the bottom stair, you feel a sudden wave of sadness and fear. You hear something like a sigh, but you're completely alone. At 3 a.m., you try to stay calm. You sit in the upstairs hallway, flashlight in hand. Then you see something that makes your heart stop. A shadow slowly moves across the wall, even though there's nothing nearby to cast it. You hear soft crying from one of the rooms. When you enter, the room is empty. Some believe it is the ghost of the son who died, still trapped in pain. The hours feel long. You hear distant voices, see lights flicker, and feel cold touches on your arm. You stay still, too afraid to move. It feels like the house is watching you. By 6 a.m., the light from the sun begins to enter the rooms. The fear begins to fade, just a little. The house is quiet again. You feel tired, drained, and confused. At 3 p.m., exactly 24 hours later, you step out of the mansion. The fresh air feels good. You look back at the house one last time. It stands there like a sleeping beast, silent but full of dark memories. You survived the night, but you know you will never forget what happened inside. Some places don't want to be visited. Kreischer Mansion is one of them.